All right, folks, we are recording, so, careful. Okay. Let's see. We have a decent enough group here. All right. So hi everybody. My name is Alysha Khan. I'm one of the organizers for the for the Champion Office Hours, and I'm also your moderator for November's office hour session. This is our first office hours with the new class of champions, so please welcome all of our new faces and our returning faces as well. To go ahead and get us started, I am going to go and just present the usual slides. So if you've been on one of these, none of this will be new. But let me go ahead and share my desktop. And let's go through these really quick. So, Adobe user group housekeeping slides. First up are house rules. These are pretty self-explanatory. So no self-promotion, no pitching. Please do not reach out to anybody outside the mug without their consent. And if somebody shares their use case in here, please do not share that information further out without their consent. This meeting is being recorded, and if you do not wish to participate in the live recording, you're welcome to leave now, and then you're welcome to rejoin later or watch the recording. And if you have any questions, you can email advocacy@adobe.com. In order to stay connected with our chapter, you can just go to the Champion Mug Office Hours Bevy page, just create an account there, and then you'll be notified whenever a new event is created. Then upcoming opportunities for chapter members. First up is the Master of them All, Adobe Summit 2025. They are currently sourcing speakers for the breakout sessions, and then registration is also open for Summit 2025. You can find out more. I think the URL is like summit.adobe.com. And then you can also scan the QR code to learn more. Then we have some upcoming user groups in Denver in person. And then we have a champion deep dive also featuring Lucas. So if you like what you see here, please join him on November 19th about how to use the Marketo API to automate UTM tracking, email creation, and program cloning. And then if you're in the Denver area, they're doing a meetup about CDPs. So definitely join if you're interested. For our international folks, we do have a mug wrap up in Brisbane, Australia. So if you're looking for a reason to go halfway across the world, this may be giving you one. But otherwise, that is the end of our housekeeping slides. And welcome to our office hours. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so we can take a look at all our lovely panelists. And let's get some questions started. So give me 1 second to get that opened up over here. But what I'm going to do is if everybody could just go around, I'd love to start with just a round of introductions. And so name, company, and I guess for our fun fact, why don't you tell me your favorite feature about Marketo? So AJ, you're just immediately next to me, so you get to go first.
Awesome. Great to meet everybody. Thank you for joining today's call. My name is AJ Navarro. I'm based in San Antonio, Texas. I'm the marketing operations manager at Sprout Social and also a first year Adobe Marketo champion. So really excited to be here. As far as my favorite feature inside of Marketo, I've always really enjoyed the engagement programs. So just something when I first started learning about how streams and cadences, it was new for me when I was first getting into Marketo. And yeah, I really like them.
Very cool. Lucas, you're up next.
All right. Nice. Thank you everyone for joining today. I'm Lucas. I'm Director of AI and Automation from Revenue Pulse, and I'm based on São Paulo, Brazil. And I'm also a first year champion, just like AJ. And my favorite feature on Marketo, I would say it's the API. I'm kind of a geek or a nerd when it comes to that, so that's why we're doing the deep dive in 5 days about it too. But fun fact is that I did my first API call in Marketo before I even sent my first email, because that was a project that I was involved on. So
Wow,
really like
cart
that
before
feature.
horse. That's pretty incredible. Maria, why don't you go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Maria Cruz. I'm a Senior Director of Marketing Orchestration at MRM. And my favorite Marketo tool would be, I would say right now, it's new, it's the interactive webinars tool. So it's a pretty cool feature, yes. So if you ever have a chance to dive in and try it, it actually has a lot of good features. So I would say that would be my favorite tool to use right now.
Fantastic. And then Miray, I should have asked this beforehand. You're
That's
up
okay.
last. Please tell us how to
That's
pronounce your
okay. Thank you. It's Miray. So
Miray.
this is Miray Wu, and I'm a senior marketing technology manager at Qualcomm, specifically responsible for Marketo. This is also my first year being a champion, and I'm so excited to be here. There's a lot of feature that I love Marketo. I mean, that's like my baby. But if I'm thinking about probably the smart campaigns is a little different than everything, because once you understand the smart campaign, how it works, you are halfway there for the Marketo. Like you understand a lot of stuff, you can start building so many stuff. So smart campaign is a little different.
Pretty cool. And then, as I mentioned, my name is Alysha. I'm a second-year champion. I'm located in the Chicagoland suburbs. I'm marketing automation manager at SS&C Intralinks. And my favorite Marketo feature is, I know this is going to seem small, but this just blew my mind when I first learned about it, is the random sample flow step that you can do in a smart campaign. It's so small, it's so hidden, but I feel like there's so many good use cases for that thing. And I love it so much. And every time I get to use it, it just makes my day a little bit better. Okay, cool. So let's start off. Because it is November, we are almost nearing the end of the year. We're going to start off our questions with a few 2025 facing, some futuristic questions, and then we'll get into some of the more technical questions that we had received as well. So let's start. Maria, again, I'm just picking out of a hat right now. I'm going to start with you with what is something that you are looking forward to in 2025 for either Marketo or marketing operations?
Sure. So one of the things there's a lot of cool things coming out in 2025. I cannot speak to them, but I'm excited for them. A lot of cool features that are I believe it's going to be released at Summit, right? Some of the new features and updates. One of the things I'm excited for is Summit. And then the second part of it was, what was the second part you were saying? What am I looking for?
What are you looking forward to in 2025 in Marketo and general?
Just, I don't know. They always have new updates and features, so I always just love seeing it. And like I mentioned, one of my go-to right now is interactive webinars, right? So I really like using it, and I really like to see, if there's any new updates or anything new to use. That was one of the things that they rolled out last year, so I'm pretty excited to continue to use that and having other people use it too.
Very cool. AJ, what are you looking forward to in 2025?
Yeah, I am also looking forward to Summit. I think everybody here is, and I have to actually say, even though I wouldn't say it's like a new feature that's rolled out, like Maria's been touching on, I've just started dabbling into the interactive webinars, and there's just a lot of cool stuff to unpack there, as well as a lot of room for growth. So that, and then an extra one that I'll throw in is I'm really loving some of the things that are coming with dynamic chat.
Okay, very cool. Miray, what are you looking forward to in 2025?
Wow, I definitely gonna do the summit, because I think we're all waiting to summit after the summit ends. So it's been almost 12 months now. The reason is because we already start reading all the articles about what's coming, but we definitely gonna see a lot in the summit. But one of the features that I'm excited about, the new email designer. So it looks like very easy to use. I didn't have any chance to test it yet, but what I see is again, bring it up to that AI features. And if you are one person that you really don't understand the coding or all the design stuff, you can easily create and your email is ready. I'm definitely looking forward to understand and learn more about the new email design features.
Very cool. And Lucas, what do you got for us in 2025?
Yeah, I think I'm not very excited for Summit. Just joking. Of course I am. Like Mirai, I'm excited for it ever since the last one ended. So I think that's going to be a huge part of next year. But when it comes to Marketo features, I'm mostly excited about all the AI features that are coming across different channels, different places. I think it's going to make our lives as marketers much easier and faster. So I'm pretty excited to see those innovations coming through to everyone.
Very cool. Lucas, I'm going to stick with you then because for those of you who don't know, I mean, it's in his title. Lucas knows everything about AI and automation and all the fancy stuff. So what is the best AI hack that you are seeing leveraged in Marketo today?
All right. I would add a few. And at first, I don't know everything about AI and automation. I think that's a good disclaimer. I just work a lot with that. But when it comes to few AI hacks, I have a few ones for my personal use, on work, and a few ones that are leveraging AI in the Marketo instance themselves. The first one is for my own use. I created a bunch of custom GPTs. So for you guys that don't know, custom GPTs are kind of chat GPTs that you can train for specific use cases that are not very good because ChatGPT sometimes is not very good on specific use cases. It's very generic, and sometimes you need something very specific, like for example, Marketo email language or velocity scripting or how to audit if a program is working or not. So I created many of those and I use them in my day to day. So like if I need to build an email template, I can just ask my ChatGPT to do it, provide the basic brand guidelines, and it runs super fast. Or same thing with velocity scripts. It took me a while to train them, but now it's really saving me a lot of time. Uh, and of course,
I'm
I also
the
use
way.
the generic one. Sorry, Alysha?
The idea of a velocity scripting chat GPT just blows my, I think all of us would like maybe a link to that. We can help you train.
All right, all right. I'll share in the chat
Yeah,
later.
very cool.
Uh,
Any others you want to share? Any others you want to share, Lucas, or we can open
oh,
it up to the rest?
sorry. No, yeah, I have a few others. Of course, I also use the generic one, especially for data analysis. I think ChatGPT is very, very good at data analysis, Gemini too. So I would also recommend that if you export your data in Marketo via list exports or via reports or via API, it's very, very good to understand. Just be aware on data privacy and all of those issues. Another cool one that I've seen a lot of clients do now is using AI to do persona classification inside Marketo. So create a fine-tuned ChatGPT model that learns your business personas and can classify your database for you. And the final one that I will add, because I used this week, I downloaded the ChatGPT app in my computer that I haven't done that before. I only used the web version, and now they have the advanced voice mode in it. So I had to learn a new feature that I never used before. And I was like studying a lot, and I just started the advanced voice mode and started chatting while I was studying. So I was like reading resources, talking through with ChatGPT, and it really, really helped me to like do, probably 6, 7, 8 hours of studying in one. So I think
Wow,
that's a very powerful tool for learning too, in case you have to, I don't know, figure out interactive webinars. I recommend
really
doing
quick.
that.
That's super cool. For the rest of the group, do you guys have any AI hacks that you're using with Marketo today?
I don't have one. We're not necessarily using this, but it is something that I've started dabbling into from a conversation I actually had with Lucas at Adobe Forum, and that's using AI to basically auto sum up why someone MQL'd and put that into a field and pass that off to like the sales team. So Lucas was chatting to me about that, and it's just an awesome, awesome use case to basically run through someone's activity log, take everything, why they MQL, sum it up into a couple of few sentences, put that into a text field, and put it on the lead record, and have that for your sales team.
That's very cool. Um, Lucas, I may just come bother you after this for all. I'm now kind of sad that I missed forum and the chance to just bug you about all these questions.
Same, I missed the conversation. I need that information too, Lucas.
Well, actually,
Okay.
we do have a quite. Could you explain a little bit more about how that works? That is a question right now about how to do that. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely. But do you want to go across the board first on everyone, or?
Maria or Miray, do you want to add any of your favorite AI hacks, or would you like to hear about
No, I
Lucas's
want
summing
to
up?
hear what Lucas has to say. Like,
Yeah, about how to sum up MQLs. Listen, we all of us get bothered about this, so I think we're very interested in solving this.
I think that's like 20 to 30% of every MOPS manager day, right? Explaining why someone MQL'd. But I think it's a pretty cool use case. What you do is you need an iPaaS solution for this. It can be Zapier, it can be Workado, it can be Power Automate, or whatever your company is using. Uh, what you do is you have to set up a webhook call in that iPaaS and connect that webhook with Marketo. And what that automation has to do is first call the activity endpoint and gather the activity, and you can set up how many days before the MQL date you want to gather. So it can be like, what did this lead do in the month prior from MQLing? And you can set up which types of activities you wanna collect there. So you can do form fills, you can do program status changes, you can do, for example, email opens, email clicks, visited web pages, or any other thing that you want. One thing that I would advise is not to use the form fill one, because it will gather the email address too, and it will send to ChatGPT the email address too, and you don't want probably to be sending this. So I would avoid that endpoint. If you use it, I would also advise for you to treat the data to remove any PII. The other endpoints don't have any PII at all. So if you are just bringing like program status changes, email clicks, email opens, it won't have the email address, it won't have the name, anything, just the lead ID. So that's better. So after you gather all this activity, you will send that to ChatGPT, basically explaining that via API, basically explaining that these are the activities in the prior month before the lead MQLing, and asking it to transform that into a easy readable sentence on why, or paragraph on why this lead MQL. Then you can set up like a character limit, all of that. And if you guys are interested, we have a blog post with all the code for that too. So you can use that. But after
No,
you get ChatGPT,
yes, please.
I'll,
The answer is yes,
I'll
please to
send
the
that.
blog post.
All right. After ChatGPT response, you treat the ChatGPT response, get the content, and send it to a Marketo field using also the Marketo API, and you can leverage the CRM sync to sync that field with CRM in like 5 minutes. So you can have the information on Salesforce of why this lead MQL'd.
That's incredible. I'm very excited to see the blog post now so we can have some directions. All right. So with that, I think we've gone way into the deep technical end. So we did have some questions come in about some of the more beginner intermediate for those of us who are still like finding our way around Marketo. So we're going to jump back to that. Maria, I'm going to toss this one to you. Could we just get a quick breakdown of the difference between batch and trigger smart campaigns and some use cases for each of those?
yeah, definitely. So batch, think of them more of like you can schedule them, periodically. So for example, you can use it for like your monthly newsletters, quarterly updates, maybe even like re-engagement efforts. So if you're wanting it to go out on specific, like every week, every 2 weeks, right? Like think of it more of like more specific time and for a target defined list versus like trigger campaigns when you want them to go based on an action that somebody has taken, right? Where they're qualifying to enter that trigger campaign, where it's more of like welcome emails when you're thinking more of like lead scoring or nurturing, or even like another example would be like abandoned cart reminders, right? So they're both great when you're leveraging both the different types of campaigns. But they do have a variety of different uses. Triggers, think of them as more of like you're listening for them to take an action or they qualified for something, right? And then batch is more of that set campaign where it's running on a timely based. Um, I don't know if anybody else wants to give more like deep insights into it, but that's how I usually explain batch and trigger campaigns, right? And we're usually like, all right, for this, for an abandoned cart, we're definitely going to use a trigger campaign. For our monthly newsletters, right, we're changing the copy. We're going to go with more of just our batch campaigns, or our quarterly updates are going to be our batch campaigns.
I think that makes a ton of sense. All right, so then Lucas, back to you. We had a question come in about how to set up an event program with multiple date selections, a form, and then like what the smart campaign structure would look like from there.
All right. I'll share my screen to show
Yes, absolutely.
this
Go
because
for it.
it's a little big. So
Yeah.
let me know if you are seeing this. All right. So, so the
I
way
love
that
it.
I usually like to do it is creating actually many different programs. So this case, I created just one with a day 1 and a day 2. So like you are doing an event with 2 days, and a parent one that will be the one who will actually say where you should be going based on uh, your form choices. So in this case, if someone fills the form, the registration form, it goes to the flow, and the flow basically says the person notes. I save the data in the person notes. Go is day 1, it goes to the registered. If it's day 2, it goes to the day 2 registered, basically. And here you can do all other like data uh, manipulations that you want. So maybe you have a parent Salesforce campaign too that you want to sync, or you can also change the parent program attendance here too. So then it depends on how you're setting it up. But this is usually how I like to do it. And then you go to the specific uh, smart campaign, which is callable by the first one. What it will do, it can, for example, add someone to a list and change the program status. And again, it can do all the other data manipulations that you want. So just on a quick show here, I'm setting it up for myself on test 2 for day 2. So, all right. And it's all very ugly because I just did that for a showcase. I'm sorry, I didn't do any beautiful HTML. But here you can see this is my other test. All right. And my new test here, you can see that the test one that I submitted earlier was this one. It went to day 1. This is the one test 2 that went to day 2. And day 2 is here, and the person ran, and it was added to the list, and it was also added to registered. See test 2.
Okay,
So
very
this
cool.
is
We
usually how
have
I
a
do it.
question come in. What if we so in the form that Lucas showed, you can't register for 2 days at once, but what if you wanted folks to be able to register for multiple days at one time?
Oh, okay. So then you'll probably use instead of radian buttons, radio select fields, and instead of is in the smart campaign logic, you would say contains. And instead of just one flow step, you would need multiple flow steps because you can only run from one if condition in each flow step. So if the person can run through 2 of them, you had 2 or 3 or 4 flow steps according to the need. Does that make sense? All
Yeah.
of you?
You're welcome to come off mute. We've got some abbreviations. I'm not sure what part's your first name or your last name. Yes, that makes
Right.
sense.
Perfect. Thank you for the caps
Um,
lock. It makes my heart pound faster.
all right, Miray, we got a question for you about how can I auto delete contacts on a regular basis without accidentally deleting contacts who have been added to a program, but the email hasn't gone out yet.
Great. First of all, I will probably never auto-delete anyone in Marketo. So, I mean, you can make the process half auto-delete because once you put everything auto-delete, you really cannot take it back. And deletion is pretty much the end of the road. So what we're doing is in Qualcomm, we create a possible deletion program, and we collecting the people for the smart campaign and the program that we can go review once a month to like to make sure that they are actually like definitely the people that we want to delete it. which when you are setting up your criteria, you can use. For us, we are looking for 6 months activity. Like if the people, there is no they're not active last 6 months. Like for this case, you can put like if people not been added to any program maybe a month ago or 6 months ago, you can change that time limit, and they unsubscribed or they look like junk records. So we collect them. And if you want during the process, you think that because they are like the junk and you don't want to email them, you can change the marketing suspended. So you can definitely protect yourself to not sending any email because you know that they might be deleted. But just in case, if there's a glitch, if something changed for your filter criteria and someone that your possible deletion list supposed to be not be there, so you can actually find them during that reviewing process. So that's, again, I don't think that auto deletion is the best practice, but you can make it the half like the auto process for the deletion process.
And
Maria, I
one
see.
step that I actually add to what Miray was saying was that more of so when they haven't had engagements in like 6 months, right? Maybe do like a last attempt, right? You might get one or two or a couple hand raisers, right? We've seen that where we get, oh no, I don't want to, I don't want to be removed, or I still want to get email communications. But that way you did a last attempt, because sometimes when you do have those lists, if you have a sales team, they're usually like, no, I want to keep everybody, right? But that way we did a last attempt. No, we didn't get any engagement. We are good to remove them from the system. So that's one of the extra steps that we take also.
Yeah. And I like that you said that, because I think like re-engagement campaigns are very like important, because I think since I've been in Marketo, like the conversation even goes past sales teams. Like sometimes it's like a C-suite thing where it's just like quantity, right, in the database, like more. And by doing that re-engagement, like you're kind of proving like, hey, we know this set of data here or these set of people haven't been interacting. As an effort to prove that, we're going to run through a very purposeful nurture in this way. We're going to pump the fire, get whatever calls we can. And then whoever doesn't respond, we've tracked with that. Whoever we do respond, we can put them into our regular workflow. But now here's the data, and now here's proof of why they're up for deletion. So.
Exactly.
I really love that point, especially like people sometimes see those numbers and they're like, oh dear God, you want to get rid of this many? And I think the re-engagement is definitely a good way to prove like, yes, they want nothing to do with us before we get rid of them. Okay, very cool. All right, hang on. We do have a question coming in. So I'm going to read this for a second to see. You guys are also welcome. What Tess is asking to see if we want to talk about it now, or we want to sort of save this for more towards the end. So in summary, they're getting their contact list from Salesforce, and they can't really identify the program, the contacts that are sitting in a program waiting to be sent an email, but the email hasn't sent yet, right? So is there a way to identify those contacts within Marketo?
Wouldn't you create a list that says member of program but hasn't received the email yet to identify? Or maybe maybe the way you explained it, like when you explained the question, right? That was my first thought, is creating like a smart list, knowing like they're a member of that program, they have not received this email communication, and now you have a list of everybody that's within it and hasn't received that email communication. I don't know if I took it the wrong way.
Tess, you're welcome to hop off mute and ask live if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, sure. I'll ask live. Thank you for taking my question. Yeah, so we do auto deletions, and for our use case, it is a good option to do the auto deletions just with how we run our system. And then in our use case, we would like to, when we do the auto deletions, exclude contacts that might have been set up for a campaign, but the email hasn't gone out yet. So for example, we run our auto deletion campaign on Sunday mornings. And the previous Friday, someone set up an email program, but the email won't go out till Monday after we've done the deletion. So we don't want to accidentally delete contacts that were on this program that was set up on Friday, if you're following what I'm saying. So
And can
if
you
they fit all the deletion criteria, however, they are going to receive an email on Monday, we don't want to accidentally delete them before they get the email.
So
Well,
you could
are they
say,
sitting
yeah,
as
go
a
ahead.
program? Sorry, are they
No,
sitting
you
as a
go.
program member? Like because you can exclude the people from your smart list, like for the auto deletion progress. I mean process to say that exclude whoever member of that such program. Especially if you're using the naming convention, you can pull those programs easily. So in that case, if anyone's added to the program, and then you know that they're not going to be deleted.
Is there a more
And
broad
maybe
way to do it instead of just by the program name? We'd like it to be more broad than having to update the program name every time.
you might
You
create
can,
if you have
yeah.
certain campaigns that are currently running, I was going to say create a smart list that you have, right? And they haven't received that email communication, right? If you have multiple on it, it might be time consuming though, because you might have several campaigns, right? It depends on your company, right? I could
Mhm.
think of several companies. I'm like, oh wait, they have too many emails going out, right?
Yeah,
Versus
kind of
I
our
think,
use case.
yeah. So that's where I was just like, if you have a smart list, right? Um, I'm trying to think of another option. I don't know if Lucas or AJ might have
AJ, I
another
feel
one.
like has thoughts.
I think depending on the process, but like from like email campaign standpoint, like I would rely on like if your naming conventions are like nice and ordered, like instead of having to update it, you could just say, hey, is member of name begins with EM, for example, something of that sort. And then again, I'm shooting off the hip here, but I would also probably add in a filter like has not received email in the last 24 hours or something of that sort. Again, more adhere to your
Or
process.
status, right? Status of that
Right,
program. Because
stats.
if you have it
Yeah.
as sent or delivered,
Mhm.
right? Then you could say if it's not this, go ahead and not and exclude them.
Or
Right.
was
I think
edited, or was added to the program, because you can use the constant rate for when it's been added. So you can say that like if been added to the program last week, don't delete them.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing too is on the program. And I feel like y'all are doing this, but I just want to call it out because I feel like I see this missed a lot is to just make sure, even if they haven't received the email yet, that if they're in the list, that they're just marked as members of the program, not sent or anything, because then that's how you can exclude them.
Yeah. And then to AJ's point, then from there, it would just be like program is any, and then your status just needs to be whatever that sent status is. And then you'd grab literally everybody who has that sent status across all your programs. And I think that would answer your question about the scalability as well of that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very cool. All right. So Maria, yes, sorry. I'm trying to keep up with my list of the wonderful questions you guys sent over. Somebody is asking, how do I set up emails that send as an ICS calendar file? The email itself is the calendar event.
Sure. So the email itself as a calendar event is a tricky question on that. I've created, and I'll let also, so I read that last part too. I'm like, wait, so to create, first you want to create your ICS file, right? So when you can create that, either in Outlook, Google Calendar, or any other tool that you're using for your calendar event, right? When you're done and you complete it, you can upload it into Design Studio and Marketo. And once you do upload it, right, you can copy the link in Design Studio and embed that into your email. But again, you're going to want to test. But with the last part of the question was you're going to use it as the email, right? Are you saying like that calendar event is the email itself? I don't know if the person that wrote the question is here, or are you wondering like how do you embed it within the email layout, right? Like saved calendar or so I don't know how the team read that part.
That's a great point. Is the email
Right.
calendar question person here? I don't have names next to my questions, unfortunately. Going once. All right. Maria, I think you did explain though how to get the actual ICS file into the email.
Yes.
Anyone have any other thoughts about this one before we move on? They have stuff to add? Nope. Okay, yep. All right. Then from now, we've sort of covered out our beginner intermediate section. Now we're going to move into some more intermediate advanced technical questions. So Lucas, over to you with how to access the details and activity log for soft bounces so it's usable.
So there are a few ways to do it. I think my favorite ones, of course, using the API, you can do a activity log extract using the API, filter that for soft bounces, and then you have the details for all the soft bounces that happened in your system, and you can have the HTML error codes, get familiarized to that. There are many resources online that explain which error means, because although soft bounces usually are things that can be fixed if you just wait, they are usually, oh, someone is out of office this month, but not necessarily. Sometimes it's like a weird DNS error that will never be fixed. So it's like a hard bounce disguised as a soft bounce. So if you know these HTML errors exactly, you can already remove those people if you extract it. The other way to identify those error codes and this data is using smart campaigns, trigger or batch, because if you use the email bounced activity to trigger or batch a campaign, email soft bounced, you can add a constraint like error code, and then you can specify the specific error code and add those people to lists or trigger another actions on it. So you can access this data using the constraints from the smart campaign. You can do the same thing with smart list, so you can see easily who are the people who soft bounce from a specific error code. And with that, you can make this data usable and understand who is really out of office and who server email simply doesn't exist anymore.
Very cool. Anyone have any other examples of like soft bounce programs or any other stuff about bounces that they want to add in here?
Just on the bounces in general, I think it's always good to just set up, as a Marketo admin, just a routine data hygiene type program to just monitor the different categories of both your bounces, and most importantly, set up like a smart list to monitor the chronic bounces. Again, back to one of the questions earlier about, getting people out of the database and stuff like that. This is just one of those other things of you can use this list to understand, okay, why are these people bouncing? Is there any, can we fix the data or anything like that? Do we have the right data? If not, is this just bad data in general? So that's something I like to do. Just keep a watch on every week that I'm getting into Marketo.
That's a
And
great
hard
point.
bounces, they are definitely invalid forever. So there are very few cases that a hard bounce is fixed. But soft bounces, they might be fixable. So what I like to do for this is, instead of like mark them as invalid quickly, is do a quarantine. And you can change the quarantine type depending on the error code from the soft bounce. So like out of office, you can wait for a month. DNS error, you can wait for like 3 months, things like that, to see if it's fixed or not.
And I think there's the old rule of thumb, and I don't know if this still exists, but I know when I was like first getting into Marketo, this was the thing of like, if you soft bounce twice, you're basically considered a hard bounce. I don't know if that's changed, but I know. Curious to hear champ perspectives on that.
I never heard of that, so maybe it changed.
I think people do it very differently. I definitely, if you bounce
Mhm.
and like, I feel like it's somewhere between 2 and 4, depends on how strict your organization wants to be. I've definitely seen people do 2, and I think at least personally, I'm like, that could just be like an out of office or like your company's having a bad email, like IT week. I tend to lean
And
a
that's
little higher.
similar. Yeah, and that's similar to like what Lucas was saying when you quarantine them, right?
Yeah.
So I've done that for another company too, where we quarantine them, and I believe it was for 90 days, and then we went ahead and re-entered them again, and then if they were still back, then we would go ahead and just remove them. But yeah, we did do the quarantine and then remove if they were still bouncing, right? Because I agree with you, Alysha. They could be out of office, right? You could be getting like one of those notifications. So, they could be on maternity leave. Like there's a lot of different reasons why you could get, a soft bounce. So yes, but I have done quarantine programs before too, just to make sure we're not just getting rid of everybody, right? But again, to Lucas and AJ's point, it's rare to see anybody going from hard bounce back, like soft bounces are the ones that may be right, but the hard bounces, those are usually always are a hard bounce. Yeah.
Later. All right. Okay, so then let's see. Miray, CDPs. We do have a CDP month coming up in Denver. But for those of us who are not lucky enough to live there, what aspects of a CDP entity can Marketo cover, or is it necessary to involve a separate CDP in addition to Marketo?
That's a great question. By the way, Denver Mug is in person and virtual because I'm a panelist over there too. So
Oh, okay, great. So if you really want to know about CDPs, you can catch the recording for that. No matter what.
Well, I'm not a CDP like the pro, but we using the CDP and like I have a lot of experiences how we did the Marketo versus CDP. In my opinion, you can use Marketo environment for kind of a small CDP, but depending on your the MarTech environment and your Marketo environment. So if your MarTech is not involved a lot of different tools and you can seamlessly integrate with the Marketo, right? And then you can create that great the CDP kind of Marketo instances for you. But once you start to having a lot of tools that not every tool seamlessly integrate with Marketo and you start to struggling, then you probably looking for the CDP direction to get another CDP. I think the main difference is if you're gonna use your Marketo, you cannot really track or stitch the people, unknown people. Like you just your environment still the according to the known person, and then you can segment them. But for the CDP, there is an extra either your the market is small or big. If you have the CDP, you have that capability that you can check the people even though before they become unknown, and you can see all the activities. But again, for us, we already built our Marketo. It's very clean and very ready to go to CDP. Once we integrated the CDP, we didn't have any issues. We know what we need to start. We know what it needs to be go, because again, we pretty much mimicked our Marketo instances to use as a kind of a pre-CDP. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. If CDP person is on the line, you're welcome to ask a follow-up question in the chat.
Yeah.
We'll try to...
Yeah,
Yes.
hi. This is Mandar. I'm from Mumbai, India. Yeah, I mean thank you for answering that, Miray. This question came to my mind because CDP has that aspect of data management and data unification when it comes to merging unknown and known information of one person, one unique person, right? My follow-up question to you is, currently in Marketo, email is the unique source of truth or unique source of connected to that particular person, right? But internally, what we have is a unique ID which is created by our CRM. So there is a gap between the integration between our CRM and the Marketo database particularly. So is there a way to maybe even revise the unique source of truth of one person from email to the UI in which the unique code which we use, or there is no solution for that?
Let me rephrase your question. Are you using the Salesforce as a CRM?
It's a custom CRM. We are not using Salesforce. Plus, one more challenge is that it's the database integration is not automated. So we are manually uploading the lists. the problem here is that for one person, so obviously each one person can have multiple emails. So Marketo is identifying unique emails, but that person is same.
That is correct. I mean, that's everyone's challenge. Like if because again, Marketo identify as like the unique email. So if you enter the person with the different emails, you're gonna see that two different people in Marketo. And in that case, like if you are willing to like to merge, because how the CDP is work, either like the RT CDP or other CDP is create a unique identifier ID for the for the individual. It's not depending on the email. That's how it's stitching. So that's what I say. Like if you are like looking for that unknown person, I think CDP is the route. So you don't need to worry about like at the end of the day. However, like again, that person, there is a still like the possibility, because you're talking about the list import. So what if the list you imported to people as a list import in Marketo and they never have any activity on your website or any website that you couldn't able to add that specific ID, you're still gonna face in that like the not able to merge that person, because that specific person needs to have some kind of activity in order to your CDP recognize the person and stitch them together. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, but I'm still not sure how to, go ahead with this. I mean, one thing which you have said right now that, we can evaluate emails based on the performance. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, Alysha,
No, we're
yes.
just coming up a little bit on time here, about 10 minutes.
No issues. No issues.
Again,
Yeah.
this sounds definitely like an interesting discussion, and I think you're welcome to follow up in the Marketo Nation community. I think there you can get a super in-depth answer to this. The other thing I said, I think support might be able to tell you if you can use a different unique identifier in the system versus email, right? So that might be a good support question. But I do want to keep us moving because we have about 10 minutes and we still have a few more questions to get through.
Sure. Thanks. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, so AJ, next question that we have up here, we are now moving on to just some general best practice categories. We've definitely covered some of that, but these are much less technical, more just best practice about what we should be doing in Marketo. So AJ, thoughts on the best enablement options to build Marketo knowledge across the team?
Yeah, absolutely. This is one thing that I'm actually doing right now in an effort to get all of my team Marketo certified. So one of the things that I believe it's free for me, is to build a simple like Google site. This simply just hosts everything from any type of documentation, slide decks, quizzes, anything that you can imagine, just on there in like a very cool UI type manner. On that same note, though, a Google Drive or any type of whatever your SharePoint or whatever your team's collaboration effort is, like even just a simple folder structure helps. If you have access to create a wiki, that's also really cool. I would also really take advantage of the Marketo University, Experience League, and Marketo Nation. Again, back to like either the Google Drive or like a document or the Google site. Pump these things in there. That way, it just limits your team from having to search for them on their own. Just really compiling that ahead of time. Take advantage also of user groups and reach out to the Marketo champions anytime you have questions. And if you can, practice in a sandbox environment. And lastly, I think one of my favorite things on that is to host practice sessions or internal trainings. This is something I did or that we did back when I was at an agency. And this is something I loved. Whenever you stumble upon something new or just have a question on a Marketo feature, host a bi-weekly session with your team to talk about that feature and learn, kind of like an office hours. It's a great way to constantly learn and enable your team. Plus, you learn a lot more yourself.
AJ, I think you and I are about to date ourselves, but Marketo University, as it turns out, isn't a thing anymore. It's transformed into like Experience League.
Experience League, yeah.
Experience League now, yeah. But for those who remember, Marketo University was a thing. It was pretty great, but it doesn't exist anymore.
I loved
So
it.
Experience League does have all the material that you'd be looking for there. So yeah, in case anybody tries to Google it, sorry. But the other thing, AJ, to your point about the Marketo CERT exam that I was in an agency also, learning Adobe's like test taking method, like Adobe thinks about tests in a very specific way. And if you spend some time looking at the questions and looking at the answer choices and understanding how they think about things, that will get you also very far. I'd say you probably, I mean, obviously you need to know Marketo, but there's like a 25% gap you can cover just by understanding how Adobe thinks about tests.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm glad that you said that because it's exactly the scenario we're running through. Everybody on my team is pretty fluid in Marketo, but the test is like different, right? As we know. Um, and so yeah, so a lot of the training material is like how the questions are worded or just like what to think about when approaching the test, the different sections. And back to the point of like reaching out to champions or just other people with Marketo Nation that you'll see, a lot of those people have usually had a hand in coming up with test questions or anything like that. So I encourage the chat to just reach out and just network. That's a great way to also learn about the test and how Marketo thinks about exams.
That's a fantastic point. All right. So, Miray, last question for you. I think we got about 8 minutes here. Tips for maintaining database hygiene, which with that auto delete, I think you already, or like not auto deleting, excuse me. You covered a little bit about that, but what other tips do you have for database hygiene?
Yeah, I love the database hygiene question. So, well, I actually started with the thinking larger picture, not only just like the concern about one or two field cleaning, because you are looking for the like the whole your database. And all it's definitely helpful to create like your database cleaning program gonna keep running every day, or like the either trigger or based on the like the executable request campaign type, but also think about like the how you are creating the people from the first place, because your database cleaning program gonna help you halfway, but if you start to collecting to like the actually good value people, it's gonna help you like a lot more than just the cleaning, meaning that your form field, like to make sure that your pick listed value for the forms match with your like the data pick listed values, like you don't need to go through the again. Or list import, if you're doing a lot of list import from the third party vendors, you can share your required fields, you require pick listed value, and they can like the give you the actually cleaner list, so you cannot create any more like the dirty data, right? Or like if you are using the API integration, same thing, like whatever the tool that like to create the people or update the people, you can match those values from the beginning. For the data hygiene campaign, like the as I mentioned, we used to like the all our data hygiene campaign was a requested campaign, but we had to make sure that those campaign running first before we actually sync to people. So we change everything to executable campaign to like to eliminate that like time or running at the same time and singing at the same time issues. So those are the main tips that I can give about data campaign, because it's a very large topic. Like I don't think it's 8 minutes or 2 minutes is enough to explain, but if anyone have follow-up like the tips or tricks or idea question, I am more than happy to answer out of this panel.
Lucas, Maria, AJ, any other tips of database hygiene you want to add?
Just a small advice, be aware of how many trigger campaigns you have, because I have seen moments when someone has like 10,000 trigger campaigns and they upload a list of 100,000 people and the Marketo instance doesn't work for days. So
Yes, that's a great question, especially executive campaign, because we were very discussing like if it's gonna like to work great, and we build it first sandbox, and sandbox is working so slow. It did not even update it like the whole 24 hours, which didn't work. But production is faster. So if you are looking for the like for me, it's like I have 7 main like the value that I had to clean. So pretty much 7 executable campaign. I think you are good until creating like 20-ish executable campaign, but if you're gonna do more than 20, they don't require, like they don't suggest it to use executable because it's going to be very slow to process. So as same thing, if you're gonna break the executable as a trigger campaign, is gonna be 7 request campaign and trigger based campaign. So it's not that a lot, but we really eliminated those like the main fields that needs to be updated for the CRM. And then like we also have enrichment tools. We are enriching to people, and like we use all other stuff, but 7 is not bad.
One of the
No,
things that
7
I
is great.
also
I've
do
seen like
once I have
100.
those, yeah,
No.
one of the things that I also do once I have those built as like a quick tip is maybe review them on a quarterly basis too, because as we, as time goes on, business goals change, right? Different things changes. So just make like I learned that later, right? Because usually I would just have them always on, maybe, just review, or they're like, is this one on, or what does this one do, right? But just reviewing them on a quarterly basis to see, is this exactly how it's, is it still aligning with our goals, right? Like, should we change it? Should we do a little adjustments here or there? So I would just, as a quick tip, is just maybe add it to just review maybe those campaigns on a quarterly basis.
I
Okay.
agree with that.
Fantastic then. All right, so we're gonna do this last one as kind of a rapid fire in the last 3 minutes that we have. So we have all built things early in our career. So looking back, what is one thing that you wish you would have done differently, built differently? Let's take it away. AJ, you can go first here.
Yeah, so 2 quick things that I wish would have done differently is start simple but grow gradually. Don't overcomplicate your initial implementation with too many crazy advanced features. Just start with some of the core essentials and build as your team grows, but also at that same time plan for scalability and growth, meaning that you have the best time or option to keep things nice, clean, and organized. Be very strict on that. Use naming conventions, build programs with a purpose, and provide strategy. Because the better you do, the more data, the more leads, the more things you're going to have to manage, and your future self will thank you.
All right, Lucas, what do you wish you would have built differently?
Use folder structure and naming convention. They sound lame, but they are very, very useful. They will make you survive in the long run.
Okay, excellent. 2 votes for that. Maria.
One more thing adding to the naming convention there, because I will say that, is adding the program ID like on it, the number, the 4 characters on the 4 numbers on it. The reason why, it will save you a lot of time when you're just trying to search, right? If you have a lot of programs that have EM in the front, all of them are going to come up. But if you have just the program number within the naming convention of it, it will save you so much time just to like, all right, I know it, put it in, there you go, So even when you're adding like the reports, the program number, that you could find it right there instead of like, which one is it? Is it in this folder? Oh, it's in that program ID. Like put the 4 digits in there. It will save you time.
Very cool. And then Miray, you want to take us home? What is one thing you wish you would have done differently?
Well, I will definitely agree with the group. Like the naming convention is very important. It's take a long time to understand and build like your way or the company, like what your company needs it. But once you understand like the concept of it, you are actually like to start to providing or like to give the idea for all over your company. And I think it's gonna save you. I love the idea for the adding that 4-digit number. We also adding those 4-digit number our forms because it's very easy to find it. You really don't need to like to look for the names or like all the other assets. So, and then folder structure. Working with the clean Marketo, you cannot compare to anything else. Like if you have very structured Marketo, organized Marketo, you are very happy when you're opening your instances. So.
All right, fantastic. Folks, we are at time. I just dropped in a link to a marketing campaign strategy kit that includes a naming convention builder. I helped create this, so it's downloadable technically, but it is something that I made, so feel free to grab that if you need it. Thank you so much to our fantastic panelists for fielding all of our questions. Thank you to everybody who joined us, and I hope you have a great rest of your November. And see you folks around.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.